pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Here on Sunday nights, we have this little live show. It's supposedly supposed to be the lightness of the week, because if you guys hang out with me on the weekdays, you know my content can get pretty deep, pretty heavy, right? But it is on Sunday nights where this little crew gets together and we try to have a good time. We do have a good time, right? We always have a good time. And I'm so grateful for the crew that I have. Owen here, one of my main moderators. He is with me almost every single Sunday, and he's been with me for 10 years now. If you want to pop in, you want to say hi, do it. Meet my crew, meet my friends. They are my friends. I have a very small group. I really do, in this moment, have a very small group, and I'm content with that, right? But in that small group and in being able to get to know each other over the years, I can actually truthfully say that online, through my own YouTube creation, being a YouTube creator, that I have been able to accumulate, to scoop up, to pick up, right? A few people that I care about and people who care about me. So I am super grateful. Here's another one just rolled in. This is Andrew. Andrew also has been with me for over 10 years. And if you don't know, I've been here as a YouTube creator in some form or another for 11 years now. But in that process, right, I have changed. And in life in general, I think we all change, don't we? Right? In knowing Andrew and knowing Owen, in our own life experiences, our own struggles, in our own joys and frustrations, right? We have grown with each other, and that's a rarity, right? Lots of times we meet up with people. I don't know about you guys, right? But if you're anything like me, we have picked up amazing people, you know, over the decades, and I am 64 years old now. I have been blessed, and I'm going to have to say, I don't say that word very often, but I have to say, I have been blessed with some really, really beautiful relationships. And in those relationships, right, time changes, experiences change us. And then we usually find that, in that change, that we don't quite click the way we used to, right? It's like my friends from high school. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I had a few friends. And, when I left high school, I accumulated a little crew, and a little crew was a pretty big crew, actually. It was like 20 of us, and we all hung out almost well, I'm not going to say all 20 of us hung out every single day, but there was always people around, always friends around, always people that I really connected with. But, life changes us. It scoops us up. We get married. We move away. We have babies. And for myself, never having children myself, I always found it difficult to relate to my friends who did have kids, because kids become, or they're supposed to be anyway, they're supposed to become your whole life. And also, in having children, right, we become very protective over them, and we always want better for them than what we had come into our lives. And so I think, I had a lot of ruffians in my life, sweet, lovable. I'm not one to judge that way. I judge for my safety, for the most part. I judge for the kindness that is directed or given to me. But, not all of them were sweet, wonderful people. You know, Lots of them were, like I said, ruffians without putting labels on any of them. But I'm somebody who has always judged people for how they treated me, how I felt safe with them, how I felt like I was being taken care of. Those conversations that we were relatable to each other, that we had common interests, that we enjoyed each other's company. But again, like I said, life changes and, people move on. And it's not like I don't care for them, right? These are people who've brought great joy to my life, wonderful memories, right? They've also made it, because if I didn't have these people in my life at the end of my days at 114 years old, rocking in my chair, I might not have been able. And I could say that now at 64 years old because I think I have filled my life up with beautiful people and beautiful experiences. And I'm not going to be one of those people sitting on my rocking chair, rocking back and forth and, voicing me. I wasted my life. I wasted some of my life. Obviously, we all do. But to look at what I've accomplished in my life and look at those beautiful relationships that have entertained me, made me feel safe, made me feel welcome, make me feel like I was of value, right? I could honestly say that I probably did pretty good and I wouldn't have any regrets in that, right? Because it's in that balance. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And in the end, it's who stood with you in those bad times, in those sad times, in those times when you didn't feel like you mattered or you had any value. And clean slate on all of that, right? And again, right, I will feel, and I do feel blessed in this moment. And even if not one more good thing came into my life, I would say I did pretty darn good. Okay, let's see. Andrew, hello Cindy, hello Owen. A very chilly good evening to you from Indiana. How cold did it get today, Andrew? And then I'll tell you how cold it got here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We're just coming out of a really bad blizzard. I don't know if it's a clipper or whatever it is, but it is super cold. I ran out to the store twice today because, well, President Trump and his tariffs, because of that, we have been paying between $35 and $40 for tins of coffee, the big tins, but that's a lot of money for a tin of coffee that's going to last you 2 or 3 weeks, right? And we used to be able to get them for under $20, sometimes under $15. And that was only like a year ago, you guys, right? But the tariffs really shut us down when it came to coffee. I even started alternating my coffee, right? I'd have a cup of coffee, then I'd have a cup of tea, then I'd have a cup of coffee just to make my coffee last a little bit longer because coffee was just so exuberantly high. Today, I got a clearance sale. $10 for a great big container of coffee. I had no choice. I had to buy it. I couldn't pass that up, right? And even though it's not grocery time when I should be dishing out all that money, you have to think forward a little bit, right? And think that in the end, that's going to save me $30 almost. I'm saying $30 because I always buy my coffee on sale. I would never ever pay 35 or $40 for a tin of coffee. But I bought a tin of coffee. It was $10. And I said, oh my goodness, what if this is good coffee? I had just opened up a bag of the McDonald's coffee. I really love the McDonald's coffee. Remember, my sister got it in my stocking. So I've been really enjoying it. Right? That's a special treat. But I just opened up a bag of coffee. But then I thought, if this coffee is good, I've never had this kind of coffee. I've had this brand of coffee, but I usually go for the stronger ones or the dark roast or something, right? Or the gourmet coffee. And this was light roast coffee. And I said, light roast. Oh, it's probably going to be too weak. It's not going to be very good. But if it's only $10 and I happen to enjoy it, I should run to the store and grab another one. It was like, what's the temperature right now? The temperature's warmed up a little bit. With the wind chill, it's minus 32 degrees. That's pretty cold, but we got serious, serious wind. And the storm ended today. It was a 2-day storm that we had. About an hour ago, all the plows came out and plowed all our side. Right, we live in Winnipeg. We kind of what do you call it? Spoil ourselves with the technology that's offered these days, right? And so this city has Sambonis and snow plows and little snow plows that are as wide as the sidewalk. So we even get all our sidewalks done. And then other trucks come by behind them and they collect all the snow and throw the snow into the trucks and take it just out to the perimeter of the city and just make big piles of it. And then another truck comes in afterwards and then lays out the salt on the sidewalks and on the streets in the hopes that it's going to melt a little bit, right? But oh my goodness, what a storm. And it wasn't like it was snowing lots, though it was snowing. It was mostly blowing snow. The wind was wicked. Even tonight, even though the storm is done now and the snow's not blowing around, kind of compacted a little bit, right? So it was still cold and I was just bundled. I have the most, I'm just going to grab it right now so you guys can see, right? How I bundle up. I wear a full body snowsuit. I wear a full body snowsuit. I wear this. This is my little Hutterite bonnet. I wish I knew somebody who could knit. I picked this up at the thrift store. I've had it for about 10 years. I absolutely love it. It's getting a little bit ratty, but right, isn't it not adorable? So I wear this. Just wait. Then I put my coat on, and then I have a big scarf that has pockets at the bottom and little puff balls of wool at the bottom. Is that what you call them? Wool balls at the bottom. And my hands, my gloves, put my hands in these little pockets on the scarf, and I've got that wrapped around. And then this one, you guys. This has been, besides my snow pants, the best piece of winter gear I have ever had, honestly. And I've lived in Winnipeg for 40 years, right? 45 years if you want to be exact, okay? So we just checked this out and I just find the little tag that's on the bottom so I don't put it on wrong. And then all I do is watch this. And I go outside like this, you guys, and it keeps my cheeks so warm. So anyway, I went to the store, made a cup of coffee, absolutely just loved this coffee. Just as good as any other brand that I very particular. I'm a bit of a coffee connoisseur, right? Uh I went to the store a second time and bought another one because I knew they were going to be all gone. So I've got $80 worth of coffee that I paid $20 for. So I thought that was pretty good. Sometimes you have to give a little bit out in order to get the benefits. In this moment, I don't have that $20, but I'm sure going to appreciate it, right? Over the next few weeks while I'm, right, drinking this big container of coffee, knowing because I've rolled up and wired up my McDonald's coffee, nice foil bag and everything, so it'd stay fresh, right? And I put it back in the cupboard, right? And then I put the spare big coffee into the cupboard so that when I finish this tin of coffee, I don't go straight into the other tin of coffee because, right, I'm a connoisseur. So usually if I buy this kind of coffee this month, next month I'll buy this kind of coffee, right? And so that way I've got like a little bit of variety, a little bit of change, and I feel like I'm spoiled a little bit. And then when I finish the second tin of coffee, which should be about a month from now, month and a half from now, I'll have my little bag of McDonald's coffee, and how happy will I be when I get to do a nice coffee again. That little bag will only last me a week or so, 10 days maybe, but I thought I did pretty good. And it was pretty rough going outside today, you guys. It was, if you see me, you just laugh at me. I'm like Pillsbury Doughboy, like that little kid from A Christmas Story. I'm not putting my tongue on any light pole or anything, but oh my goodness, I was kind of proud of myself that I was right, because lots of times when you're out in that cold and it's that miserable, you don't want to go out again. But you know what? You do what you want to do. And I feel good that I went out twice and faced the cold. How cold did it get? I'm going to come up here and see what Andrew said about how cold it got. Uh, Probably not as cold as Winnipeg, down in the teens today, along with wind chill. So you might have made it up to minus 30 today, or minus 25 Celsius. If you guys don't know, I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So my crew for the most part is from the States. I have a few from Canada, but for the most part, right, they're American. And America is only two places, I think, in the world that do Fahrenheit. I think there's a Polynesian island somewheres that also does measurement in imperial. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if Andrew knows the answer to that one. But isn't that odd? I don't understand the reasoning in holding on to imperial measurement when the whole world now is working in the metric, understands the metric. Here in North America, I don't know about you guys, in Canada at the very least, we are kind of half and half, right? Because of recipe books, grandma's old recipes, mom's favorite chocolate cake recipe. Like, these are all done in imperial measurements, right? We have the measuring cups that say 250 millimeters, 15 grams. Like, we have these measurements, but for the most part, when it comes to cooking, we pretty much stay in imperial measurement. I know construction crews, when they're building houses and stuff, they stick pretty much also in the imperial measurement, working in foots and inches and stuff too. So because the states is still in the imperial, right? We're neighbors, we're friends, right? That we follow suit a little bit, right? And you have to remember too that officially it was, what was the year? 1951 when the border between the two countries officially was established. Did you guys know that? It wasn't until 1951. They were still two different countries, but there was a kind of an honor thing, right, between them. And I'm not sure if the borders were regulated at that time, but I do know that the border officially wasn't put in place until 1951, and in putting up that border, families were separated, right? Like families, especially here in Manitoba, we have a lot of relatives and stuff, not my family personally, but people who first settled here in Canada. They were in Fargo, North Dakota, right? Minnesota, Montana, Washington, right? I'm trying to think of all the others. And I'm assuming Indiana, right? I'm assuming Indiana, New York, or maybe not New York. What's the state that's separates, that's right below, say, Nova Scotia? What is the state? Maybe it's New York. I'm not. I'd have to take a look. I would have to take a look at the maps to be sure, right? But we had families who moved in and settled, but because there was no border, they were just living a little bit further away. Now they're Americans, right? And we're Canadians. It's really strange how things work out that way. But then again, it's in that idea of change that we kind of lose track of the ones that are close to us, right? But yeah, that cold weather, winter is winter this year. We haven't had one of those winters in a few years. And to tell you the truth, I haven't really been out for, oh, why am I saying that? I went for a walk earlier in the week when it warmed up before the big storm. I did go for a week, but for somebody who usually goes for a walk every single day, whether it's spring, summer, winter, fall, I have been kind of not just, I'm not going to say cooped up because I don't feel cooped up. I'm busy. I'm doing the Cindy, right? But I have been staying inside a little bit and appreciating the comforts, right? Appreciating the comforts. It's still too hot in here for me to sleep, though. I turn the heat off. I open up the window and the snow blows in and stuff. And I still can't find um, the right temperature for myself. And I don't think, even though I turn the heat off, I don't think the heat truly goes off. I think because I wake up sometimes, right, in the middle of the night for a few minutes, and I can hear that the furnace is on and blowing right over my bed, right? The two I have two heater vents in the, oh, I have three. I have one in the bathroom too, which is useless. But I have two, but they're both in the bedroom area. So they blow right down on me when I'm sleeping. And I'm somebody who's naturally comfortable in the coolness because, right, you can always put more clothes on. but there's so much that you can take off in the winter. And yeah, you don't want to, right, throw your blankets off you after you've taken off all your clothes, and then all of a sudden you wake up and your skin is blue because it's snowing through snowing through the window. Yeah. Okay, let's come down in the comments here. And it's snowing too. Oh, snowing way down there too. Oh my goodness. Are you guys got good snow clearing equipment? Does the city actually take good care of the streets and stuff when the bad weather comes, or you guys just kind of wait for a couple of days until it warms up and just watch it melt away? Here we can't allow that to happen. If we have a warm day, more than likely the plows will be out, because if the next day it freezes again, then the streets and the sidewalks become ice rinks, and it's dangerous, right? I live in a building. Our maintenance man is absolutely amazing. I'm up at 7 o'clock every single morning, and I sit at my desk and I turn on my computer and I look out the window because I know he's down there, and he is right. And we have a huge walkway, probably as big as my apartment. And then you have the sidewalk in front of it, right? And he shovels that whole area every single morning. He's out there at 7 o'clock in the morning doing that job. Yeah, I think the company that owns this building, I think they were very lucky, to get such an amazing, I have to say amazing, when you, for most people, I don't know about you guys, right? If your landlord and stuff, your stove isn't working, or your shower's not working. In my case, the sink is not working. My things are dripping underneath, or what. I put in a request, and immediately, right? I could let the caretaker know, or not the caretaker, the building manager who has her office downstairs. I'll let her know I have a problem on my way out the door. I'm just going to the grocery store. And when I get home, he's already got the repairs done. He's already sometimes here. And he goes, "Oh, Cindy, I just need to get you a new sink tap, or you need a new shower head, or you need a new sink trap." Right? I've never asked them to fix my stove. I moved in. I only have two elements on my stove, but I'm one of those people, unless it was really kind of, right, causing me issues, I'm not going to really complain about it, right? I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. If I happen and he's here, right, maybe one day I'll mention it to him. But the idea was, this was supposed to be temporary. But sometimes the value that you get when you, right, like the cost of the rent, it's so good, it kind of traps you where you are. I don't feel trapped in that. Again, I feel very blessed that they've taken into consideration my situation, and right, they dropped my rent significantly for me. I haven't signed my new lease yet. My rent is going up at the end of this month. I don't know how much, right? Because I did pretty good, because you have to give them the taxes from the year before, right? So I made pretty good money the year before. So it's based on that. But I think with a conversation, and they'll work with us, right? And this is the amazing government, right? It was the mayor that we had, the last mayor that we had, not the mayor now, but our last, Brian. right? It's been a while. But he was a great mayor. And before the COVID, he asked the federal government for money to get the homeless off of the streets, to provide housing for anybody who needed affordable housing. And I think he got like $20 million or something like that. He was a great mayor. And yeah, so anybody who is looking to get off the streets, there are resources out there in this city at the very least. And I think it's partly because it gets so cold here. Walking home from the grocery store tonight, we had we have a little where buskers go, if they want to play tunes on their guitars with the suitcase open so they can collect change, and seats for people, and they have electrical systems just in case they have electrical guitars or whatever the event is that they need electricity, so they have that hooked up there. And when I came home today, there was this great big tarp and cords in the plugs through the gates, right? And he's right there by the sidewalk, and he's in there, and he's got it set up like a little tent, right? And he's got an electric heater, he's got his phone, and he's all set up, right? I haven't seen him yet. I know he's in there, right? Because he goes away during the course of the day. I don't know, he goes to stores or malls or something, right? But then in the evening he comes back to that spot, and he's been living there so far all winter, and it's right next to the fire station, and they don't have a problem. They don't have a problem with that. And there's available housing for him if he wanted that housing. I actually have a church just one block away, and they open up the doors at 7 o'clock, and they have a big gymnasium in the bottom, right? Because they have a daycare, so they have a big gymnasium in the basement floor, and they've made a little restaurant, so that they can serve breakfast, and they put mattresses out for everybody, and anybody who wants a place to sleep, anybody who wants to come out of the cold, they have a place to bed down. And then at 7 o'clock, right, the horn goes off, everybody has to put their gear together, they go to the washroom, wash their face, then they go to the restaurant, and they get served breakfast, and before they're sent on their way for the day. you know People don't realize what an amazing country Canada really, really is. It's that idea that people get drawn to the bad things. They don't get hyped up about the good, right? When the good things are passed down. And me myself being a recipient of those kindnesses, right? We have low income bus passes, right? My bus pass, I just put a few dollars. It cost me $1.50 to take a bus. My transfer is good for a couple of hours, an hour and a half, right? And I can go wherever I want on that $1.50. And I can transfer from one place to another, right? It comes in quite handy when I go thrifting and stuff. Then I can hit up a few thrift stores. But I also have a rec pass that's government funded, and I can go swimming, and I can go to the gym for free, right? I don't pay monthly passes or anything. I haven't gone for a swim. Well, no, I don't. I think it was November was the last time I went swimming. I should go for a swim, but again, it's so cold. It's so cold outside, and because I worry about my wet hair going outside. Like, I never go outside in the winter when my hair is damp. I always make sure that my hair is dry, and that, right, I'm bundled up. This is all bundled up, that I'm not going to get sick, but not just that I'm not going to get sick, that I'm going to freeze my hair and it's just going to snap off. Right? I feel like I'm like like David. What's that? David and Goliath, that story, David and Goliath. Was that what it's called? David and Goliath, when he takes out Goliath, the big guy. Um, and he got his hair cut and he lost all his powers. Kind of feel like that, in the few times, for the most part, I've always had very short hair. I think I look pretty decent in short hair, but, that long hair, life seems a little bit better for me. The good luck, if you want to call it luck, comes across my path. I don't seem to have as much bad. Can you guys hear that? The trucks are out there again. Oh, they're just loading up the Zamboni for the sidewalk. So they're going to take it now to another part of the city. So they do them in the communities. I don't know. Well, I guess it's the same kind of idea like Owen says, right? Because he lives in one part of New York, and but there's different districts in New York. So it's the same kind of idea here in Winnipeg, right? We have Fort Rouge, Crescentwood, West Side, North End, right? So now they'll take that Zamboni and their whole system, and it's like a parade, right? There's sometimes like six or seven great big huge trucks and Zambonis. I call them Zambonis, but they're snow plows, right? And then these little ones that do the sidewalks. And they'll just go to another district. Usually takes them, if after a big snowstorm. It usually takes them just a couple of days to get everything done. The past few years, these crews that run these machines, they have not been making money, right? A lot of them are seasonal workers. This is the money that they're making for the year, right? So they'll work through the winter and then they'll maybe do something else during the spring and summer months and the fall months. Sometimes they make so much money, these guys make lots of money, that they can take the summer off, and they can spring, summer, and fall off, and then just trust that they're going to make their money again in the winter. But the past few winters, there hasn't been so much work for them. Right, lots of people. They probably did some quite a few hires this year because they probably had to let a lot of these crews go because there just wasn't enough work for them. They probably had half a dozen days of work last year just because it was so mild, right? Not to say it still wasn't cold, because you guys know, I guess, especially Owen would understand that one because he's right by the ocean, and that moist air. Even if you don't get a lot of snow, even if you do get snow and it melts in a few days, that moisture in the air is awful, right? I just laugh when people say, I wish I lived in Vancouver. Maybe not necessarily so, right? Because there's so much moisture in the air that Vancouver in the winter, and I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia originally, right? I came to Manitoba when I was 18. But on the norm, winter in Vancouver was awful. How would you like to go to school in the winter being rained on? Right? Or snowed, rained on. And it's windy. It's windy, right? Those mountains that things shoot through, and you're getting those currents off of the ocean, and right? So here in Manitoba, for the most part, it's dry winters because it's so cold. It doesn't get an opportunity to melt. Past few years, the moisture has been in the air. And this week, with this storm, lots of moisture in the air. It was not only cold, but it was a very bitter, wet, moist storm, because remember what I said earlier in the week, I went for a walk because it went to like plus two, and it was a lovely day. So I took a really nice walk over the river and over the bridge, and I went into another area of the city. It's the French area. So when you go over the river, the other side of the river, the French are. and and the French are on this side too, but at one time these were, and I don't know what it's like in your cities in the States, but at one time are small communities that represent one big city of Winnipeg used to be their own little villages and their own little cities that surrounded Winnipeg. And then as the city grows, we amalgamate, right? We pull in all the small towns and villages, and so yeah, it's all Winnipeg. We are still bilingual here. We're still very much bilingual. Not as bilingual. I'm not going to say bilingual. We're very bilingual here in Manitoba, and we have lots of French and lots of English. But if you go to the East Coast, there are communities there who don't even speak English. And that's the truth. When I got engaged, right, I'm divorced now, but when I got engaged, my husband, when he came home from his tour in Croatia, decided that we were going to go and announce our engagement to his family, and his family wanted to meet me and stuff. And they had an engagement party for us at his cousin's house. And I was beside my husband, the only one who spoke English. It was a big party too. They could say hello and please and thank you, but it was mostly just smiles. And my husband spoke good French, so he translated it a little bit himself. But he was so involved in socializing because he didn't get to see his family very often anymore, living and being stationed here in Manitoba. So yeah, I was really amazed. I didn't know there were places like that in Canada. I knew like in Montreal, right? Being a bilingual country, Montreal was completely French, right? Everybody spoke French, but I didn't realize it was that way on the East Coast. After a while, I got to understand a little bit about the Cajuns and stuff, and what happened to the Acadians in the late 1800s, or and so it's was it the late mid 1800s that I would have to say. I'm gonna have to search that out. I haven't really gone right into. I actually watched a documentary about a month ago about the Acadians, but it didn't click the dates. That's something I don't take notes of very well. I don't take notes of dates, notes of telephone numbers, emails. What else? Not so great with names. It takes me a while to get to know somebody's name, but I'm always good with faces. Oh my goodness, right? I recognize people that I know all the time and have no idea where I know them from. I sometimes even ask them, do we know each other? Do you recognize me? You seem so familiar. They all look at me like I'm cuckoo and stuff, right? But it's even when I go on my trips to Ontario and I'll go into a coffee shop or something, I recognize people. And yet they don't recognize me. And they say, no, I don't think I know you. And I just like, yeah, but I feel like I really, really know you, right? But sometimes it's similarities, right? In people. I always consider myself somebody good at recognizing faces, but maybe not, right? Okay, let's come down in the comments here. All right, because it's moving now. It should hit you guys probably tonight sometime. the really bad one, if you guys are catching that storm that we had, it's probably going to last 2 days. And it was so bad I couldn't even see across the street. That's how how fast that snow was blowing and how wicked that storm was. I enjoyed it myself, but then again, I'm sitting here all cozy looking out my picture window. But can you imagine how I would have felt if I had seen that gentleman with the tarp right across the street up against a wall or a tree or something? I would have felt so bad, right? I would have felt so bad for them. Yeah. But they have choices. There are resources in this city that will benefit them if they wanted to. But sometimes, it's the lack of taking care of having your ID, right? And I think of it sometimes, that I could probably be help to some of these people in getting their social insurance card or a copy of their birth certificate, even getting a driver's license. And right, homeless person, they're probably not driving, but a driver's license has picture ID, and picture ID is crucial when it comes to right accumulating resources, whether it's welfare. I think in the States you guys call it social security. Here we call it welfare. And but without proper ID and a home resident address, it's really, really hard. And appreciating that I got pretty close myself, that I might have found myself in a situation where I didn't have a roof over my head, right? And right, blessed again that somebody was watching out for me. My sister, she went to town and got me an apartment, and it just right. And I stressed for so many months over right not having a roof over my head, and then within 24 hours, right, I was moved in. Yeah, it was pretty cool how things work out. But again, it's our choices, right, to move towards these things that will help us out, right? If you're Canadian, I encourage you, right, to apply for some of these resources. I really appreciate having my rec pass to be able to go swimming. I appreciate having my bus pass so that if I want to go shopping or I want to go visit my sisters or something, that I can hop a bus and go where I want to go. And if I can carry on the way I'm doing right now, we're going to get into. I had a topic for you guys tonight, right? But I just kind of just pulled right in and started yabbering away about other things. But let's just come down here and see what's going on. Um, Andrew says, I did some errands in advance and I hope to spend the whole day indoors tomorrow. Yeah, I picked up when I went to the store today, I picked up pot stickers. Have you guys ever had pot stickers before? It was my first time trying pot stickers. They're like a Chinese pierogi almost with vegetables and I vegetables and chicken, but they have all kinds, pork, beef, vegetables but I grabbed the chicken vegetable ones and I fell in love with them, and they were on sale. So I grabbed a couple of bags more and threw them in the freezer. Right. It's like saving money again, just thinking forward, because when that sale's over, I'm going to pay an extra couple dollars on every bag. And I think I kind of got hooked on the what do they call them? Pot stickers. Yeah, pot stickers. They look like pierogies, but oh my goodness, they're so delicious. They're so delicious. Came off the peanut butter again, came off the sugar, right? Well, to the very best of my ability, I understand that carbohydrates convert to sugar, but just coming off the sugar. And at Christmas time, I had candy, right? Christmas time, I always break down and treat myself to candy. It's that family tradition that I had as a kid. Well, my dad's tradition of never saying no. And I love candy. I just can't eat candy because I'm kind of a piggy when it comes to the candy. I love candy. I ate candy every single day. I think right up until when did I do this? Maybe I was about 40 years old when I gave up candy. I gave up candy. Christmas time is the only time that I eat candy. Still do the cookies, right? I looked at the cookies today, but I said no. And, but, crackers, bread. I actually gave up bread for quite a few years too. And then I went back on the bread for a little while, and then I came off the bread. And then just before Christmas, I went back on the bread. So we're coming off the bread, and it's easy for me to come off the bread. I wean myself off, and the only way I can wean myself off the bread is to say no peanut butter because I gave up peanut butter too. That's the way I do. Eliminate the things that are not good for me. Lots of people think peanut butter is good for you because it has lots of protein in it, but it has lots of trans fats, right? And they actually put icing sugar in with the peanuts. So it's still full of sugar, right? It's still full of sugar, but because I love peanut butter, like a big jar of peanut butter, it will last me maybe a week, right? Because I can eat peanut butter breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime, snack. I can live on it. And it's inexpensive. I saw it at the store today for those big jars, $3.99. And I thought, oh my goodness, there's my grocery bill for a week. I could be so proud of myself at keeping my budget low. And I said, no, Cindy, you can't have peanut butter, right? We're going to be done with the peanut butter. We're done with the peanut butter. We are done with the candy. We are what else did I give up? Sugar, right? Done. Flour, done. Not no flour. Flour's not allowed in my house anymore. So I fail myself all the time. You have a breakdown moment. Oh, and also I don't eat after 8 o'clock at night anymore. And it's working out really, really well for me. I've actually even lost a few pounds in not eating. I couldn't believe how instinctual it was for me because even last week, and I've probably been doing this over a month now, where I stopped eating at 8 o'clock. But there were a couple of times that, after my live show at 9 o'clock, I'm rifling through my fridge and my cupboard before I recognize, oh, Cindy, it's after 8 o'clock. You can't have anything. Then you make yourself a cup of tea and say, oh, you're going to bed soon anyway. So it makes me think, before I put that rule in for myself, how bad I really was. I probably ate right up until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, snacking on stuff. I'm not sure whether or not it's making a difference in the grocery budget because there isn't much of a grocery budget, but it has been making a difference in my complexion, in being able, well, I would like to say my sleep has been undisturbed. It's right, but it's not working out that way because the heat is on me. So, right, I still haven't figured that one out, but it's got nothing to do with not eating after 8 o'clock. That not eating after 8 o'clock is probably benefiting me quite a bit, right? Okay, come down in the comments again. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Andrew. I was kind of proud of myself too. I really didn't want to go outside, but I knew it was a flash sale because they're not I guess going to carry that product anymore, or they're going to change the packaging on that brand. I can't imagine they're not going to sell that product anymore because it's President's Choice and it's a very popular brand here in Canada. So I'm thinking they're just probably changing the branding on the packaging, and they cleared them out at $10. And when I got there were about 10 of them left. So I grabbed one, and I was smart to say, let's have a sip of my coffee. Yeah, very, very good coffee. I don't know why I've never had light coffee. That would probably benefit me too, having light coffee, because coffee is very acidic to start with, right? And if I'm not missing on the flavor of the coffee, I don't see any reason why I can't do light coffee. When I heard light coffee, I thought, oh, there's not going to be any flavor to it. It's going to be weak. It's not going to be enjoyable, but it's very enjoyable. So I just put my snow pants on and geared up again like the Pillsbury Doughboy. And I'm not even 10 minutes. I probably can walk to the grocery store in 8 minutes in the wintertime because you're just, right? And in summertime, I'm doing it faster because I'm not looking at the ice on the sidewalks and the snow banks and stuff, right? So, but I still move pretty fast because it's cold outside. I just want to get to my destination as fast as I can and get back home. But I'm very glad that I did that. I'll mention it to my sister. I'm not sure if we're going thrifting tomorrow. Okay, so let's get into that conversation. Let's move down to comments and then we'll get into that one. Cindy, that's great. Money management. I'm not very good at money management, to tell you the truth, but I'm going to take that compliment, Andrew. Right? Money management has never been in my life, but I do set goals. And in setting my goals, I make sure that my priorities and my needs are taken care of. And I guess I would say I was kind of taking care of myself, right? Like I said, at $40, I probably saved 50 or $60 today by buying two of those ones. And also on that, who's to say what next month is going to be when it's funds, right? Coming into the house. So when I at the end of the month, when I go to get my groceries for the month, I'll have an extra, right? I can say, well, I have an extra $20 because I've got my coffee already, right? And not only that, I've come off the coffee whitener, and I've gone back to the dairy for my coffee because my system is in need of that regulation, if you guys know what I mean. I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, so it's been helping me a little bit. And I don't know if I'm going to continue using the milk. I would like to stay on the milk. Did you guys know that we have only become resilient to lactate in the past, um, is it 1,000 years? Is it 1,000 years? I was watching a documentary about it that we never used to be able to drink milk. Milk was not something that our system could handle as humans, but we've learned to, I guess it's been more than that because sheep cheese and stuff like that, because out of the need to eat, right, that we have changed, right, we have physically evolved to be able to do dairy. I found it very interesting to know that. Okay, let's come down here again. um Where I lost my spot. Uh, oh, Eugene's here. Hello, Eugene. Yeah, I like coffee all day long, right? And I like to go for coffees. I don't go eating in restaurants very, very rarely, maybe once a year. Um, yeah, I'd have to say maybe once a year I meet with my sisters at Smitty's restaurant or something for breakfast. Um, but on the norm, right? Restaurants are very pricey, but a special treat, aren't they? Right? It's always nice. My dad used to take me out on dates when I was a little kid, starting very early, probably around 6 or 7 years, maybe once a month, just me and him, right? I would have a dress up day. He would have a dress up day. And me and him would go off to a fancy restaurant and go to a movie, or we'd go to a play or a concert or orchestra or ballet or something. And it was something very, very special with us. So it's not that I don't appreciate restaurants. I really do, right? But if I were to go to a restaurant, it's usually pretty inexpensive. It'll be like a Burger King or something like that, right? So it's not something that I put money towards on the norm, except like I said, once a year, maybe me and my sisters will meet up and go to a restaurant. But I do appreciate grabbing a cup of coffee at Tim Hortons, or you know I prefer Tim Hortons coffee to McDonald's. I'm gonna say I appreciate Tim Hortons coffee shop more than I appreciate McDonald's, right? Only because it's more of a restaurant atmosphere. So I'm getting that feeling of sitting in a coffee shop, right? Feeling a little bit special because I bought a cup of coffee and I get to sit there and play with my phone and feel like I'm part of a community, right? And feeling I'm having a real outing. Whereas McDonald's, their coffee is just as good as the Tim Hortons coffee. In fact, here in Canada, the Tim Hortons coffee is McDonald's coffee. When Tim Hortons changed their coffee brand, McDonald's picked up their old brand, who was ever distributing the Tim Hortons coffee before them, and now sells great coffee. I love McDonald's coffee just as much as I like Tim Hortons coffee, but I do like to sit in a coffee shop rather than sitting at McDonald's because it just feels more like an outing when you do that. 33 degrees? 33. Oh my goodness. What's that in Celsius? Or is that in Celsius? You already converted that for me. 33. I'm not sure if that is cold or not. Andrew will let me know. I do have a book here. It's where I keep all your guys' addresses that I have so I can send out your Christmas cards. But I think in the back here, there is a conversion from metrics from Imperial that I can actually see. Maybe it wasn't this book. No, it's not this book. It's in one of my other books that I have lying around. I also have a little thermometer that I can double check the temperatures between Celsius and Fahrenheit, but it's like one of those little Coca-Cola ones, antique one that hangs out the outside just so that you can see how cold it is when you're getting ready to go to school. I don't know why, but metric and Celsius have never caught on here in the States. Maybe it's just so embedded in us. Do you know how much money it costs when we order our product and all that labeling, they just label in metric, and all the countries they just ship off that stock. You guys buy that stock from the same place we buy our stock overseas. You bring it to the States and then you have to relabel it all. Why? Because I'm going to assume that it's part of the law that the ingredients are listed, the amount of calories and the nutrients, with any product. Do I have anything here? The products, like whether or not it's a cleaning product or a dry goods or refrigerator. Um, Fruits and vegetables, no. But anything that is canned or dried good or medicinal or cleaning supplies or even pet supplies, they all have to be listed on there, right? And they have to have all the nutrients, all the calories, and all the chemicals so that the consumer can decide for themselves what's in it. Here's a good one. What kind of ice cream? Breyer's ice cream? Oh, there's an ice cream brand that recently changed the formula in their ice cream. They changed the formula so much that the government told them that they can't call it ice cream anymore, right? Because it has to be a certain percentage of cream in it and stuff. So on the container, they write frozen dessert, right? At the bottom of the container, about this big. And I was looking in the freezer going, ooh, ice cream. And I noticed, well, I knew one of them was like on sale, like a crazy, like half the price than it usually is. And I says, oh, that must be the frozen dessert ice cream. You can't call it ice cream, but that's the frozen dessert one. That's what they call it, frozen dessert. And I looked for that label. It was about this big in the bottom of it, and I couldn't find it. And then I looked closer, and it's about this tiny, 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 in the same coloring as the packaging. You can barely see it say frozen dessert because they have to legally say it's frozen dessert, and they were putting it on the packaging, right? But they lost lots of sales, and lots of people who loved their product just gave up on it because it says frozen dessert now. So they kind of made it invisible. So unless you knew that that brand was frozen dessert, you wouldn't know. It's like when you go to the ice cream freezer, especially with Safeway, right? Here in Canada, you don't get Lucerne ice cream anymore. You get uh, frozen milk. That's what they call it. They call it frozen milk. It's awful, you guys. Frozen milk. It's not creamy or anything, right? As soon as they did that and got rid of the ice cream, I just like, oh, forget that. Right. And I used to love the Lucerne products. They were so good. Still buy it in like sour cream or cream cheese and stuff, but oh, it's not Lucerne anymore in those products. It's compliments, right? Compliments. Yeah, it's neat though. You know what I do miss, you guys? We don't get it here. And I noticed you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it in a case of like 60 or something. But we don't sell Kool-Aid crystals anymore. You can't get Kool-Aid crystals anymore. I'm just heartbroken about that. I really love Kool-Aid, right? I fill that 2 liter jug. It's only supposed to be a liter, but I fill it up 2 liters because I just want the flavor in the water a little bit. It doesn't need to be sweet or anything. And I use sweetener in it anyway. I don't use sugar. But I really miss the Kool-Aid. So I think I'm going to see if my sister will order us a case of Kool-Aid this week. Yeah. Okay. Quickly come down in the comments. Um, Samson, Samson and Delilah. Oh, Andrew, you're 100% right. Samson, not David and Goliath. Samson and from the movie when she cut his hair off, right? Yes, you're right. 100%. Andrew says, here in Bloomington, the road crew does a great job of clearing the streets. Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear, right? I was just wondering about that. I mean, right? Kind of proud of my city and how Manitoba kind of takes care of us in the elements that way. But I wasn't too sure. Right? You never know these days with the cutbacks in funding and stuff. What's available for the public, right? Um, But yeah, you were right there. It was Samson. It was Samson, Andrew. Thank you for correcting me on that one. Andrew says, I eat organic peanut butter or peanut butter spread. What's peanut? Oh, peanut. What's peanut spread? Is peanut spread the one? No, because that's the same as organic, right? When you get a whole bunch of oil, that natural oil, it just kind of sits on top of it. I never liked that peanut butter because it's not smooth. It's usually crunchy bits and bites in the peanut butter, and I've never been a fan of that. I usually like the low fat one, the one without the low fat and low sugar one, because they roast the peanuts longer. They do a better job at roasting the peanuts to make up for the missing ingredients that they're taking out of the peanut butter. So there's lots of flavor. I really, really like the light peanut butter much better than the regular smooth peanut butter. Oh, let's not talk about peanut butter. I love peanut butter, right? $3.99 a jar this week. Oh. I really wanted it, but I was pretty good. I said no to myself, right? We're going to try and give up the peanut butter. I'm not supposed to be eating peanut butter at home. Peanut butter is only for when I'm out on the road, like if I'm if I go on trips and stuff, like on my camping trips. Remember the squirrels that opened up or the chipmunks that opened up my peanut butter this year? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime snack, right? I could go on my camping trips and just take bread and peanut butter, and I would be and coffee and be perfectly content in that. But that's the only time I allow myself when I go off on trips. I'm allowed to have peanut butter, right? If I go to a restaurant, I don't. But if I wanted to go to a restaurant and have bacon and eggs, I would have peanut butter, right? At home, right? Because I know once I get home, I have to come off the peanut butter. But sometimes I don't come off the peanut butter. Sometimes I come home with that jar of peanut butter and I finish that jar at home, and then I run off to the grocery store and I buy another jar of peanut butter, right? And it takes me, I always manage to go back to my routine, but I fall off my promises to myself not to touch those things. And I don't really promise myself because I give myself those outs. Like when I'm on the road, I can have peanut butter. Christmas, I can have the candy, right? So it's because I fell back and my system has gotten the joy of those things that I do love, right? And then it becomes difficult because then I feel like I'm punishing myself, right? That I'm taking away those things that I love. And then I have to remind myself I'm taking those things away because they're not good for me, right? not in the abundance that I delve into them. I had more control. If I could make a jar of peanut butter last a month, I wouldn't worry about ingesting, right? That I could have that jar of peanut butter here, but that's not how I eat peanut butter, right? If I don't have grocery money, right, it's easy for me to get a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter and make it last me the whole week. So I'm not that desperate, but I could, right? And I have. Okay, coming down here. 33 Celsius is 91 Fahrenheit. Are you kidding me? Wow, that's nice. That's nice weather. Holy moly. Uh Wish it was. 91 Owen says. I heard that Briar's made a big change and doesn't taste the same anymore. Yeah, it doesn't taste the same anymore because they took, right, the lots of times, and I think this is more fair than some companies do, because these days, especially with the rate of inflation and stuff, um, people are taking note of the cost of things now. The big difference from what they are now compared to what they were maybe just a year ago or just before the COVID, right? That the prices have gone exuberantly high. And now you find that manufacturers are actually not jumping the price up, but they're making the packages smaller. They are changing the quality of the ingredients that they're using, and they're making right. They think that we're not going to catch on to these things. The only, I would have to say, the only product that has not had a significant price change, I would have to say it's the only product. I don't think there's another product out there except maybe potatoes in the fall. The price goes down pretty good because there's an abundance of potatoes. Oh, and the corn and the cob in the fall, that goes down in price really low. You know, you get, now you're getting 3 cobs of corn for $6, but you know, in the in the fall, you can get six cobs of corn and pay $3 for the 6 cobs of corn. But I would have to say the only thing that hasn't changed in price, can you guys guess what it? I bet you it's the same in the States. One product where the price has not changed, right? Even products that are regulated, like eggs and milk and dairy, all those prices have gone up, and that's all regulated by the government. But there's one thing that has not gone up in price, whether it's winter, summer, spring, or fall. Can anybody guess what that is? Let me know in the comments. I'll count to 5 and then I'll tell you what it is. You'll probably go, all right. Okay. Bananas. Bananas are still 79 cents a pound, right? Bananas have not changed in price in like 5 years, right? Probably more than that. And grateful because most people love bananas. But I would have to say also that maybe because there's, countries rely on that one product in shipping it out to the whole world, that maybe the cost of growing it has not gone exuberantly high. Mind you, I did hear something about uh, the people who grow bananas feel that they're not being paid enough in what they're doing. Was that bananas? It could have been pineapple, but I'm pretty certain it was the banana workers that were not happy about, right, the amount of money that was actually staying with them compared to the deals that are being passed off in other countries, right? I think they could bump bananas up a little bit, right? I don't think it'll make a difference. Everybody loves bananas. Everybody would still buy bananas and feel good about it because there's supporting countries that are actually trying to put a roof over their heads in those things, right? Okay. Oh, you heard something about that, eh, Andrew, about the Briar's ice cream? I'd say peanut butter spread is really just peanut butter, but needs stirring. So it's probably pretty thick then, I would assume. Yeah. Organic's amazing, and there's not too much of a price difference between the organic and the regular. So, right? There isn't too much difference in that. Um, I usually will buy the organic green onions. I like ginger. Um, they're not there isn't too much in the organic that I delve into. There is a few cents more, but I think most people aren't adverse to paying those extra few cents for having things to be properly grown, right, without the chemicals and the fertilizers and stuff like that, right? But for myself, those few cents make a difference, right? Like me and my coffee. Kind of proud of myself now because Andrew said he was proud of me. No, I was kind of proud of my. I wouldn't have run off to the store if I didn't think it was a good idea to invest another $10 and get that extra 10. I may even go get another one tomorrow. I may even go and grab another one. Right? Who's to say what the cost of things are going to be down the road? And actually, now that I'm saying it, I probably will go get another one tomorrow. I might grab two. Who's to say? We'll just do it. Now, I did have a topic today for conversation, but I think what we'll do is maybe next week, and I'll tell you what it is now so that you guys can think about it too. Maybe you guys can contribute to it. But I happened on to an idea when I was online, and I listen to a lot of thought leaders out there, but I was also taking note of the few thought leaders that I do follow who are actual comedians, but they send out that good cheer. They send out the light. They send out the motivation and the inspiration. And it just made me recognize how important laughter is, right? Especially when things aren't going well, when we're not feeling good, when we're all struggling with inflation and tariffs and presidents, anything that we feel that we're being chained to, right? That we don't feel that we don't feel the hope, we don't feel the joy, we don't feel the inspiration, the motivation, right? That we actually have people who make us smile, that make us laugh, that make us feel good, but at the same time, they get their messages across, right? They inspire. And I wouldn't, right? Because I take my lessons seriously. I write my thought leaders, right? I'm in there and I'm not necessarily taking everything that they say as truth. I siphon through it, right? I scan it like I'm an X-ray machine to feel for myself what's true and untrue and what makes me feel good. But I really recognized, that the comedians are really spreading the light. So tonight I just wanted to talk about the power of laughter. And then just before it was coming live, and I says, okay, so we're going to have a funny story today. I'm going to tell a funny story today. And right before I hit the button, I knew what funny story I was going to tell. It was a personal experience when I was a kid with me and my sisters, but I thought it was pretty funny, right? Just thinking about it made me laugh, right? But but I thought, oh, that's what we'll do, right? We'll tell riddles, we'll tell jokes, funny story, right? I thought riddles and jokes would be good for you guys because, right, you can keep it short in the comments like that. But everybody knows a funny joke, right? Or has a good riddle that would make us smile or laugh. And if I told my funny story, it would make for a nice light evening tonight. This was my idea. But then I came in and did the Cindy. And we didn't get to that topic of laughter, right? The power of laughter. So, you know what, you guys? Next Sunday, when I come in, uh, it's going to be fun, right? I'm going to think of a couple of really good, funny stories, whether experience of mine or experiences of somebody else or something really funny that I came across. And right, maybe you guys can think of some good riddles or jokes. And next Sunday, let's keep it light. Right? Next Sunday, we're just going to keep it light and maybe make each other smile or laugh. Because Cindy did the Cindy today. It didn't happen. But we're going to do it next Sunday for sure. Okay, you guys, look at that. 9 o'clock on the dot. Gonna have a cup of coffee. I had some content on that I was in the midst of, so I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna see if I've got any sales going on. Oh, I didn't even get to talk about the sales we made. We made almost like $400 this week, you guys. Was really, really happy, Cindy the entrepreneur, right? So yeah, I sold a few things this week, and I was kind of proud of myself in that. And my sister's happy. She feels that low because she was kind of disappointed, like, with what's going on with this tariffs in the States. She can't even do eBay. She can't ship anything to the States because it just costs so much for the consumer, for the customers in the States, and it's hurting her really bad. So we decided to move everything to Marketplace. I can still ship from Marketplace, but we're only going to ship in Canada. We won't ship to the States because who wants to pay that kind of money for items, right? And I think, it's not tit for tat, but maybe our government should reciprocate to the States a little bit so that, the Americans who are not being charged tariffs and what do you call that? Not just tariffs, but duty when you go across the border, that, they can have a feeling of how we feel, right? In charging our customers, and they could also feel what it's like not to be able to get the products that they want and need, right? Yeah, but we're on Marketplace. If you guys want to go check out my Facebook, you'll find my Marketplace there too. I think you just go to my name. You guys know my name, so just Google my name, but don't use Cindy, use Cynthia, and you'll find me right away. And go into my Marketplace. You can see all the things that we've got up for sale and all the things that we've sold already. We're doing pretty darn good. I'm happy with that. My sister's super happy too. A lot of relief for her because it was making her pretty depressed, and I don't like to see my sister Alice depressed. She's had a tough year, like lots of us have, right? But it is in that lifting up of each other that we do, right? It makes the journey bearable, if not fun and exciting. Remember, you guys, next Sunday, it's fun night or funny night, light night, right? Okay, you guys, we're going to call it a night. Everybody, have a great week. If you come in during the week, 9 o'clock Central, Monday to Friday, I will be here if you want to pop in. I know Eugene will be there. Thank you everybody for coming in tonight, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye.